It sounds pretty strange today. Two countries that are currently hell-bent on destroying each other used to be the closest of friends. That's right, we're talking about Iran and Israel. This wasn't just some casual friendship. Their leaders used to meet in secret. They exchanged gifts. They signed secret agreements. People actually held them up as an example of an unlikely alliance. There are a lot of surprising stories, but the most shocking one is this. The very nuclear program that Iran gets condemned for today was actually a gift from Israel and the United States. So how did that happen? Where did the Iran-Israel friendship begin? Who was jealous of this relationship? Why did the Ayatollah's regime secretly buy weapons from Israel? And what was the turning point where this deep friendship turned into bitter hatred? Welcome back. To understand where this friendship came from, we need to go back in time, way back, to when the Middle East looked completely different. Back then, the Ottoman Empire ruled the region, but it collapsed after World War I in 1922. The British took over and Arab nationalism started to rise. The Arabs had just broken free from Ottoman rule and wanted to create their own unified nation. In fact, one of the reasons the Ottomans lost World War I was that the Arabs secretly sided with the British, who had promised them their own country after the war. But there was one major power that had a serious problem with Arab nationalism: Iran. Back then, Iran was a powerful empire, and the Persians looked down on the Arabs. The Shah of Iran was afraid that a united Arab world would threaten Iran. First, there was the issue of the Persian Gulf. The Arabs had started calling it the Arabian Gulf. Second, Iran was mostly Shia Muslim, while the Arabs were mostly Sunni. Historically, there had always been a quiet rivalry over who truly gets to represent Islam. The Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was scared that rising Sunni influence might eventually reach Iran and knock him off his throne. But nobody knew that Iran, feeling isolated, was about to find a very unexpected friend. In 1948, the United Nations announced the creation of the State of Israel. Right away, neighboring Arab countries attacked Israel, seeing it as an injustice to the Palestinians. That war threatened Israel's very existence. But it also gave the Shah of Iran an opportunity. The Shah didn't have as much of a problem with Israel as he did with the growing power of Arab nations. While the Arabs were fighting Israel over Palestine, Iran's sympathies were leaning toward Israel. Meanwhile, Israel realized it needed non-Arab friends, surrounded as it was by hostile neighbors. Israel's first Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion came up with a strategic policy called the Peripheral Doctrine. His argument was simple: since Israel is a small state surrounded by Arab enemies, it should befriend the neighbors of its enemies. And on that map, Iran was the biggest and most important neighbor of the Arab world. That was the first foundation of the Iran-Israel friendship. The first big result of this policy came in 1950. After Turkey, Iran became the second Muslim-majority country to de facto recognize Israel. Iran sent a formal letter through the Swiss government, not only accepting Israel but offering friendship. It wasn't official diplomatic recognition. It was an open secret. Everyone knew, but nobody admitted it out loud. The Shah let Israel open a mission in Tehran. It was a large office that worked exactly like an embassy, but it had no Israeli flag and no sign saying embassy. People knew it was Israel's mission, but officially it was called the Israeli Trade Office. So why did the Shah befriend Israel? 3 big reasons. First, modernization. The Shah wanted to turn Iran into a modern, powerful industrial state. He needed advanced technology and expertise. Israel could give him that. Second, fear of Arab nationalism. The Shah was terrified of Egypt's Gamal Abdel Nasser, who was waving the flag of Arab nationalism. The Shah believed Iran might be Nasser's next target. Third, close ties with America. In 1953, when Iranian Prime Minister Mohammad tried to reduce the Shah's powers, the CIA helped the Shah stay in power. After that, the Shah owed America, and America wanted Iran and Israel to be friends. The Shah was so afraid of his own people that he created a secret police force called Savak. Its job was to catch or kill anyone who spoke out against the Shah. And here's the shocking part: Israel's Mossad trained Savak. They taught them surveillance, interrogation, and counterintelligence. Savak and Mossad regularly shared intelligence and worked together to target communist groups and Arab militants. Even Iranian Air Force pilots got their training in Israel. Now let's talk about the nuclear program. Iran's nuclear program, the very one that the US and Israel now oppose, was started with their help. In 1957, President Eisenhower launched a program called Atoms for Peace. The idea was to give nuclear technology to American allies so they could produce cheap electricity. In 1967, the US gave Iran its first nuclear research reactor, which was installed at Tehran University. And who trained the Iranian nuclear scientists? Israel. The very scientists who are being targeted today were once trained by Israeli experts. The friendship wasn't just military, the economy was actually the strongest part of it. Israel needed oil, but the Arab countries had boycotted it. Iran had plenty of oil, but there was no way to get it to Israel. Overland routes were blocked by Iraq, Syria, and Jordan. The Suez Canal was controlled by Egypt. So the two allies built a secret pipeline called the Eilat-Ashkelon pipeline. Here's how it worked. Iranian oil tankers sailed from Karg Island to the Red Sea. They bypassed the Suez Canal and reached the Gulf of Aqaba. They unloaded at Israel's port of Eilat. From there, a pipeline carried the oil to Israel's Ashkelon port on the Mediterranean Sea. From Ashkelon, the oil could be shipped straight to Europe with no Arab interference. This was a 50-50 joint venture. It was a symbol of their brotherhood. It broke the Arab oil monopoly and helped both countries. The friendship was so strong that the Shah and Israeli Prime Minister Ben-Gurion used to meet in secret. Ben-Gurion would wear a wig when he landed at Tehran airport just to avoid the media. By the 1970s, the Tehran Trade Mission, the secret embassy, was fully active. Israeli engineers, doctors, and military advisors were working openly in Iran. There were even direct flights between the two countries. This period is considered the golden era of their friendship. In October 1971, the Shah threw the most expensive birthday party in history. It was his 52nd birthday and also the 2,500-year anniversary of the Persian Empire. They built a whole mini-city in the desert, costing over $100 million. Food was flown in from the famous Maxim's restaurant in Paris. World leaders, kings and queens were invited. The Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir wasn't invited on stage to keep the friendship secret. But Mossad secretly planned the entire security for the event alongside the Shah's team. Then everything changed. In 1979, Ayatollah Khomeini overthrew the Shah and declared Iran an Islamic Republic. Khomeini immediately announced that Israel was the enemy of Islam and that the Shah was a traitor. Within weeks, the Israeli trade mission in Tehran was attacked, and the Palestinian flag was raised there. Yasser Arafat showed up in Tehran, and Khomeini declared the building the Embassy of Palestine. The Iran-Israel friendship story seemed to end right there. But it wasn't buried just yet. 1 year later, the Iran-Iraq war broke out. Iran desperately needed weapons, and who secretly supplied them? Israel. Israel secretly sold weapons to Iran because it wanted to weaken Iraq, its Arab neighbor. Under Khomeini's leadership, that war went on for 8 years, and Israeli weapons kept coming. Need had brought them back together. After the revolution, Khomeini got rid of everything from the Shah's era. Savak was gone, the oil pipeline was gone, the Israeli mission was gone, but there was one thing he reopened: the nuclear program. The very gift from Israel and America. In the 1990s, after the Iran-Iraq war ended, Israel realized that the biggest threat was no longer Iraq. It was Iran's nuclear program, now in the hands of revolutionary Islamists. From that moment on, a shadow war began between the two nations. Assassinations, cyber attacks, sabotage. That was the moment when the Iran-Israel friendship got buried for good. Secret oil pipelines, joint nuclear research, secret police training, birthday parties guarded by Mossad. The story of Iran and Israel is one of the strangest and most fascinating chapters in modern Middle Eastern history. Today, they stand as mortal enemies, but for a few decades they were the best of friends. Thanks for watching. Please like and share this video. Thank you for all your awesome comments and support. See you in the next video.